Hey, north to south, coast to coast, east to west. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network. How you doing? How about this? Boom. Is that better over there in the Facebook Live? Yeah, we're on the Facebook Live as well. So if you want to watch the video stream of the broadcast, it's available there. So Wells Report, John David Wells is out. I'm James Parker filling in. Phone number's the same, 844-RADIO-US. Or if you want to talk, you can come leave a message over here in the Facebook Live. It's going to be AOC Day. And I don't mean that nearly as bad as it sounds. This isn't a show that likes to just sit here and beat up on people all day, every day. So I'm kind of going to take just a slice of this show, and not to beat up on someone, but just to address her. Because she has been the darling of the media, and I don't really just want to go by and take pot shots at her on a daily basis. I'd like to come in and do like a full diet here of AOC and not make fun of her, not make fun of how much she says like, and and because, and literally. I have no problem with the way she talks. In fact, I think she's absolutely beautiful. 29 years old, still in good shape. Those videos when she was dancing in college, that is gorgeous. However, that socialism stuff that comes out of her mouth, it's pretty destructive stuff. And I'm not freaked out or angry or telling you the world's going to end, but it's the same old tripe that gets recycled that as Americans we have to slap down every generation, it seems like. Every once in a while there's a break, but I remember us having to go through 2 world wars to stop socialists. I remember us having to go to Korea to stop the spread of this ideology that she pushes. Same thing with Vietnam. It's basically the biggest problem, the biggest murderous problem we had in the 20th century was socialism. And now we have a cute, beautiful little girl with great delivery making it hip again. And I just want to kind of cut that off. And I don't want to beat her up. I don't want to come across as a bad guy here. So you'll hear what's a pretty fair assessment, I think, of AOC and why I disagree with her, just based on policy, period. But Biden has, you'll believe this. I would say you're not going to believe this, but you'll believe this. He has yet another accuser has come forward. Now, I told you about a couple at the beginning of the week, and then there was 3 more, and we talked about those yesterday. And since the show has ended yesterday, another woman came forward. So now they're making lists. Now they have lists of all the Biden accusers here. And just from the surface level, the shallow take on this is, okay, it's not really that bad. It's not sexual assault. It's not groping. The sniffing is weird. It shouldn't disqualify him. I still have a problem with the question of why is this an issue now as opposed to when he was doing this in front of cameras, the cameras that your people were holding. So it's understandable that Fox News beats up on him. They're going to beat up on anyone with a D after their name that gives them a space. But if you're beating up on him from the other side of the aisle, very suspicious of that. But, man, what a fun story, huh? Really? The creeper's finally getting called out for being a creep? How long have we been saying this? So there's a couple other fun things we're going to get to, too. What is the deal with people falling into the Grand Canyon? 3 people have died in the last 2 weeks falling into the Grand Canyon. And I don't feel bad making fun of these people. You went to the Grand Canyon. You know it's the biggest hole in the world. You know how gravity works. This isn't like a 4-year-old who got separated from his mom and snuck through the fence like the gorilla cage at the Cincinnati Zoo. These are grown people saying, "Oh, I'm just going to look over the edge," and then they slip and they fall and boom. I have no problem making fun of these people. Did it sneak up on you? You didn't see it coming? The biggest hole in the world? What were you just looking down, texting, and all of a sudden, 3 in the last 2 weeks. And the issue seems to be with tourists here. It's not the locals. Some guy lives at the bottom in a shack with his donkey, and he's got to somehow make it down the side of the cliff every day, and today he slipped. These are people going to the Grand Canyon with the specific intent of looking at the biggest hole in the world, getting themselves killed. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of that. First, you know how I like to start the show. I like to start with some jokes. Welcome to the monologue. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, thank you. Now you're just being nice. Yesterday, President Trump met with the vice premier of China. Trump's tariffs are taking a toll on the Chinese economy, In fact, thousands of steel workers in China have lost their jobs and are now enrolled in elementary school. Might as well go there. Learn the math. In the wake of inappropriate touching allegations, Joe Biden has promised to be more mindful, which will be a challenge after 76 years of being mindless. Shocking new twist in the Joe Biden scandal. A woman came forward and said he did not grope her. It's the weirdest thing. I was a victim in a vulnerable spot. Didn't even sniff. American women are divided on their opinion of Joe Biden. According to a new poll, half of women think he's a pervert. The other half think he's just a creeper. It's just Joe. Lori Lightfoot has become Chicago's first openly gay mayor, and that succeeds Rahm Emanuel, Chicago's last openly corrupt mayor. Huh? No? Was there static there? What did I do? Did I mess this up? This is National Cannabis Awareness Month. According to a new study, the sperm of men who smoke marijuana don't swim as well as others, but they can hold their breath longer. I don't know. Phil, did you get that one? You have to think about that one. It was on this day in 2010. Former astronaut Buzz Aldrin was voted off Dancing with the Stars. For some reason, on the moon, he seemed much lighter on his feet. Brianna Goldriga is leading CBS News. She says she wants to try something different, like real news. See what that's like. A Dolly Parton race car is going to debut Saturday at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And you can tell which car is hers. It's the one that has the gigantic headlights. It stands out pretty good. In Chino, California, someone beheaded a statue of the Virgin Mary. And if convicted, the vandal faces up to a year in jail and eternal damnation. So that's good luck with that one. And finally, April is Sexually Transmitted Disease Awareness Month. So when you get a chance this year, stop by and say some encouraging words to producer Phil's mom. Oh no. There. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, that hurt me, and I'm just standing next to it. Phil, you okay over there?
I'll get over it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Your mom doesn't listen to the show, does she?
She does not.
Okay, so let's go over to AOC. I feel safer now. Probably should have asked that before the show. Hey, how much money is too much money to make, AOC?
And it really comes down to the question of, isn't 10 million enough? Like, when does it stop?
Yeah, when it's too much
right?
money, too much.
Like, at what point is it immoral that we're building Jeff Bezos a helipad when we have the most amount of homeless people in New York City?
Just go through the Founding Fathers literature and see where they said Americans should have a cap on how much wealth they are allowed to acquire. Because it doesn't exist. That wasn't part of the founding documents or the founding philosophies or the mindset of Western civilization, period. How much is enough? I think 10 million is enough. Really? How's that going to work? How are you going to have people that are seeding the money to come up with new businesses if they're not allowed to come up with more than $10 million? And think about it like this. Remember how when I was young, I really only remember the post office, and then at some point UPS showed up. And I don't know if it had been around before I was born, or maybe it just got out to the hinterlands of the country real slow. And then FedEx showed up. But it wasn't that long ago. You remember when DHL started? So there's a company that all of a sudden they're going to be delivering parcels and trying to compete with the post office and then established private sector companies like FedEx and UPS. Now, in order to start, just to start up on day one and take the first package, you have to have a network built out of offices and warehouses and employees, and think of all the little DHL trucks that had to be ready to go on day one. You can't start that business unless someone has accumulated in excess of more than $10 million. It is impossible to do. People have to be able to accumulate giant sums of money in order for capitalism to work, in order for innovation to work, in order really for society to move forward. Without people being able to accumulate giant sums of just liquid cash, we would all be stuck in the same cogs and the same gears that we're stuck in now. That is what greases the wheels of innovation to move forward, is people being able to accumulate that much money. And who said it was a bad thing? Do you realize George Washington has such an amazing life story. It's such providence from God himself that this guy happened to come around at the time he did, be the person he is, be in the places he was at the time he was in them. Because in almost every other revolution, even the ones that start honest, even the ones that start out trying to give freedom to the people, they almost always take a turn into despotism. And these guys that lead these revolutions, how many of them lead it with good intentions, saying we're going to help the people, we're going to help the poorest among us, and then they never give up power? Look at them. Look at what's 90 miles south of Miami, Cuba. You know, and all these other guys, they get in power, we're going to help the people, and then they just stay. That's the norm. That's what happens with these dictators. That's what happened in Egypt. That's what happened in Libya. That's what happened in Iraq. That's what's happening right now in Iran. These people don't give up power. This guy gave up power. But it started out, he was in the military, and he goes through and he accidentally starts sort of the French and Indian War. He accidentally killed a guy that wasn't supposed to be killed. It was a mess. But then when he gets out, he goes out and he makes so much money. He's the richest guy in the colonies. He was so successful in the private sector, and he was seeding other companies. He would make money from his whiskey. He would make money from his hemp. Yeah, he did hemp. He would make money from his tobacco, and then he would give that to other entrepreneurs. The first guy who had the working steamboat passenger operation was seeded in money from George Washington because he was able to accumulate all this wealth. And the American people who were there for the Revolution, who were there for the horrible article or the slightly horrible Articles of Confederation, but then when the Constitution was redrafted and they had to go through all this debate, the country and the generation that was most steeped in what the founding principles are, when it was time to pick a president, they picked that guy. They went out and they picked the most rich dude in the entire colonies in their new country. They didn't go pick a 29-year-old bartender. They didn't go pick some common guy who was just there for the common man. They didn't go pick a career politician. George Washington didn't hold any office before this, really. And they went, and not only did it not bother them that he was a multi-millionaire, they elevated him to the highest position. I mean, the founding principles of America are exactly antithetical. They are the opposite of the mindset of what just came out of her mouth. Oh, $10 million is enough. No, it's not, and that's not an American thing to say. Here's AOC. She was on 60 Minutes. And I love this one. How do you respond to, people saying, oh, socialism will turn into another Venezuela?
When people hear the word socialism, they think Soviet Union, Cuba, Venezuela. Is that what you have in mind?
Of course not. What we have in mind, and my policies most closely resemble what we see in the UK, in Norway, in Finland, in Sweden.
All right, so you picked some of the least socialist countries out there, but the ones that go pure socialism, they all do end up like Venezuela. I mean, there's a good case to be made that these countries she just mentioned are more capitalist, free market economies than socialist. They're mixed, definitely. But I'll have more to say on the other side of this. If you want to jump in, we're having AOC Day. We're probably just going to do this for about an hour and then move on. 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. I'm James Parker, sitting in for John David Wells. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
Hi, this is Wayne Allen Root on behalf of my great buddy, Ron Corey. Ron's one of the most successful businessmen in Vegas. He's living the American dream, and he's written a hot new best-selling book about his crazy and dangerous journey. This Vegas tough guy and former Marine fought shady thugs, dirty cops, corrupt politicians, and mob wannabes. An entire city tried to frame him and put him in prison for 50 years. But my buddy Ron is so tenacious, he beat them all. And now he's telling the real story, nothing but the facts. Tenacity is the raw story of what it takes to make it in Vegas and the business world with the most colorful and shady supporting cast ever. Ron beat the police, City Hall, and stage 4 cancer. What are the odds? Only in Vegas. Tenacity is such a wild story. Hollywood now wants to turn Ron's book into a movie. This story is so good. Famous movie actor Michael Madsen of Donnie Brasco is the voice of the audiobook. Go to Amazon today and order Tenacity by Ron Corey as a book, ebook, or Kindle. That's Corey, C-O-U-R-Y. Visit his website, roncoreyauthor.com. For more details, go to Amazon to order Tenacity today.